This replacement should only be done by an angler trained technician. It will show how to change the scaling handpiece on an older Sonmate or Sonus dental unit. The tools you will need are one needle nose plier, one wire cutter or very sharp scissor, one small diameter screwdriver or Phillips, one 3/4 wrench, and one 7/8 wrench. First thing you need to do is unplug the power plug from the wall outlet. You must also disconnect the water line from your water source, whether it be the 1-gallon pump-up tank, the faucet adapter, or your plumbing. I would like you to do this now before we proceed. You will notice that there are 4 screw caps, 2 on each side of the unit, and they keep the cover in place. Now look carefully. You will notice that each of these caps has a little hinge on one side. Once you have located this hinge, take your needle nose pliers and place it on each side of this hinge. Don't place it on the hinge, just on each side. Then squeeze gently. You will see what looks like a little door opening. Take your fingernail and open it all the way. Let's do another one. Here's the hinge. Put your needle nose pliers on each side of the hinge. Squeeze very gently until the door opens. Put your fingernail in and pull it out. And do the same thing with the other 2 hinges. Once you have opened all 4 caps, take your screwdriver and remove the screw and the cap together. Put them all in a safe place because you will be needing them again. Do the same with the other 2 screw caps. Next, you carefully pull the top cover, starting from the front, and lift towards the back, removing the cover completely, and put it out of your way. Now let's look inside the unit. This is a 3-pin connector. With one hand, hold this component steady while you gently pull off the 3-pin connector. This is the handpiece waterline. Take your needle nose plier and lift the brass eyelet by turning it back and forth while you're lifting. Don't squeeze hard. You don't want to crimp it. Then you slide it down the waterline. Put one hand on the unit and hold it down while you pull the waterline off the barb. Then you remove the eyelet and throw it away. This connector is called the pigtail. Unscrew it counterclockwise and let it drop down the cable. Pull the cable towards into the unit and undo this knot. You now need to remove these 2 nuts. Be careful how you work with the wrenches. They are rather large and you don't want to damage any of the components inside the unit. Take your 7/8 wrench, apply it to the inside nut, and take your 3/4 wrench and apply it to the outer nut and turn counterclockwise. and pull the cable completely out. Take the new handpiece cable out of the bag. Loosen the pigtail and let it drop down the length of the cable. Inside the small bag is a flat nut and a little brass eyelet. When you take out the flat nut, be careful not to lose the brass eyelet. Take your 3-pin connector and feed it through the front of the unit, followed by the waterline. Now you will notice that the black nut is flat on one side and rounded on the other. The flat side goes against the unit. Feed the pin connector first, followed by the waterline. Push it against the unit and screw in the outer nut to the inner nut. Take your 7/8 wrench and hold down the flat nut inside the unit. With your hand, screw on the outer nut until it stops turning. Take your 3/4 wrench and give it a couple of little tugs. You don't want to over tighten this. Pull the cord forward and make a knot. Keep the knot very loose. You don't want to tighten this because you don't want to choke off the water that's going through the waterline. Then pull back until it touches the flat nut and just give it a small tug. Again, you don't want to pull hard, you don't want to choke off the water. Next, you pull up the pigtail and screw it on to the handpiece nut. You do not use the wrench for this operation. You only use your fingers. Make sure it is just snug. If it's too tight, the water will not flow through the cable properly. We are now going to install the brass eyelet onto the waterline. Take your wire cutters and cut a steep angle at the end of that waterline. Take your eyelet, stem side down, and insert it into the waterline. And slide it all the way down. Measure about 2 inches. And if you're not sure, do 2.5 inches. You can always cut more. Cut it straight across. Take some water. Put a little bit on the waterline tip and also on the waterline barb. Turn it over and insert the hose into the barb. Make sure it goes all the way down. If you take your finger and you put it between the waterline and the barb, if it catches, then you know it's not all the way down. Make sure it's all the way flush on the barb. Slide down the eyelet. You put a little bit of water on the waterline to help it out. Slide down the eyelet. Take your needle nose pliers. Don't squeeze the eyelet. All you want to do is push it down onto the barb. Push back on the hose and push down on the eyelet. There. As far as it will go, and it should be all the way down. Take a hold of your 3-pin connector. Slide it underneath the waterline and over. Give it 1, 2, 3 turns. Make sure the wires are in the up position, not the down position, in the up position. And insert the connector onto this component. Make sure it's all the way down. Hold the back of this component, slide it in gently. We are now getting ready to close up the unit. If your side extrusions have come loose while you were installing the handpiece, you can put them back on now. Check both sides to make sure they're both on there. Slide the cover back onto the unit and make sure that the side of the cover goes into the side extrusion. Also make sure that the holes are aligned. Take your screw cap and insert the screw into the hole. Take your Phillips screwdriver and screw in the screw cap. Then close the little lid. And do the same thing for the rest of the caps.